Hey, Smutsters, it's Morgan, and today I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing our High Lady of the Night Court, Melody Muze. Melody, how are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm good. So, where are you currently located?
I am currently in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, how's the weather there right now?
Right now it's really stormy and rainy and overcast and cool, and honestly, I love it. I'm living
Okay,
for this. I am not a sun and heat girl. I never will be. Sun's
yeah,
all right,
same.
but not with the heat.
And it's like good book weather.
Yes, that is true. This is like the perfect weather to just, get in the bathtub, get your nice
Yeah.
little fancy bath tray and read. Not that I do that. I would love to do that, but you know.
For those people that have time, yeah.
Right. I mean,
Perfect.
I do have the time. It's just I don't have like the nice tub. I
Right.
have a tub, but it's not nice.
Yeah, to get it all aesthetic with the candles. I know what you're talking about.
Yes, yes, yes. For the aesthetics, darling. The
Yeah.
aesthetics.
So, do you know how much BookTok loves you on social media? I think Feyre might be everyone's favorite leading lady.
Well, I had an idea that, I don't know about me per se. I kind of assumed that everyone was super fond of the masculine characters because they're the
Mhm.
love interests. They're the sexy potential suitors of everyone in their
Right.
fantasy lands. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So that's kind of what I assumed. I didn't expect anyone to really care too much about my narration and
Mhm.
voiceover because I'm just I am the main protagonist, true, but I am also the 19-year-old kind of foolish
Right.
protagonist,
Well, Feyre is
so and I
actually,
definitely.
oh, I was just gonna say Feyre is actually my favorite character. So I was very excited
Really?
for this. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing news. I didn't know that. That's awesome. I love to hear that. That makes my day, honestly.
Yeah, and you did such a great job with her character. As I was listening to the graphic audio, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this.
Yay, that makes me so happy. I'm really glad that you liked my portrayal. I definitely had to go back and like, oh, how was I when I was a 19-year-old? And I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
that was a disaster. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, let's channel that a little bit.
Right. I think everyone was, so makes sense.
Yeah, a little bit, a smidge.
So, did you always know you wanted to do voice acting, or was there like a defining moment where you realized you wanted to start?
Oh, this is a great question because I do have an exact defining moment. Once
Oh,
upon a time, like most people, I went back and forth on what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to
hmm.
be, a singer at first. I wanted to
Oh,
be a performer that way. And then it switched over to graphic design because I fell so in love with art.
okay.
And,
Cool.
and then, so one of the things that I like to do a lot of growing up, especially, because I went through some hardships in my teen years. And I definitely got lost in art. That was my kind of like my therapy in a way. One day, I was singing Disney songs,
Hmm.
and I acted out the scenes as well. I really committed to the bit.
Hey, good.
I felt like
Yeah.
I was particularly loud. Yeah. Um, I was particularly loud and obnoxious one day,
Okay.
and
Cool. I'm into it.
I basically said to my parents, like, oh, I'm so sorry that I was really loud today. My bad. And my dad actually made the comment. And he's like, you are really good at that, he said. And he's like, I
Oh,
think you should turn it into a career. And
yeah.
I was like, I don't know what happened. It was just a big light bulb moment. Like, oh, right, this is a thing, and I do this all the time as a person. Like, I've always been really creative. I've
Yeah.
always been really animated. I'm often daydreaming. I get lost in my daydreams a lot,
Same.
and and yeah, I just all the signals that this is the path for me were there. I just didn't notice it until someone like literally like uh hey, and this isn't like
Yeah.
super uncommon. I'm sure many people have started from this, but that was how I started. It was because my dad encouraged me to pursue it, and I tried it out with my really crummy headset. I had a very cheap, crummy headset, and I started
Okay.
auditioning for volunteer projects, and I got cast, and I just fell in love. I just fell down the rabbit hole.
Oh,
of
that's
voiceover.
amazing. Very like meant to be, very like figuring out that you were just like meant to do it because it just suited you so well.
Yeah, yeah, it was a pretty amazing moment when, and it's a very special moment that I wish more people would get because a lot of people don't get those moments or those opportunities. So I
Yeah.
was really like, I need to really work on this and do this and commit it because, you know, I just think we could always use more artists in the world. Art is to be celebrated. Art is what makes life beautiful and worth living, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, I totally agree. And I really respect that you realized you had this like innate talent. And then we're like, I'm gonna really just like put the footwork in to get it to where I want to be. Like that's very admirable.
Yeah, I'm gonna pursue this. I'm gonna put my all into it. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and obviously we love it. Obviously we eat it all up. So
Yay.
yeah. So speaking of everyone's favorite book series, how did the ACOTAR audition come about? Had you heard about the series at that point, or how did that go?
I had heard about the series. I had never read it before because, at the time I was still doing audiobook work.
Okay.
And, but I was, just narrating books on my own with indie authors. I still do that. I still work with a lot of indie authors mostly because I love indie authors. But
Yeah.
yeah, so graphic audio, I was on their roster at the time, but I hadn't done any big projects. I was more like the minor voices and characters
Okay.
in different book series. And I saw an email that said, "Hey, we have exciting news. Graphic Audio gets to produce, Sarah J. Maas's ACOTAR." And I was
Oh,
like, "Oh, good for you, Graphic Audio. That's great." Like that's how
good
I
for you,
responded to that
graphic
email.
audio.
Right. And, I think a few days later, I got an email saying, "Oh, hi, do you like my director, Colleen Delaney?" Fun
Yeah.
fact, Colleen is the voice of Lydia from Skyrim, for anyone who didn't know.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, she is amazing, by the way. I love Colleen. She also narrates A Court of Silver Flames, and she
Oh,
narrated
okay.
a little bit of A Court of Frost and Starlight. Sorry, I'm trying to remember all the names.
Yeah, no, I
But
definitely noticed that because I was like, oh, they switched, which makes sense because it's Nesta's story then. So I was like, oh, I love her voice as well. So
yeah, she's wonderful, and she's an amazing human being too. So yeah, I love Colleen. But yeah, she sent me the email saying, Melody, Sarah requested you to audition for this
oh my
character."
gosh.
And it was
So
really funny
cool.
because before that, I was hanging out with my sister-in-law and her friends, and they were big fans of ACOTAR, and they were talking about it. And one of her friends in particular was like, "Oh, you need to read this book. You need to read this book." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll get around to it eventually." Again, I read for a living, so I'm so behind on
Yeah.
the current books I have to read. So,
Right.
and it was just really funny because we were literally talking about it, and then whoop, it came into my email, and I was like, "Holy crap!" I was like, Feyre Archeron. That sounds awfully familiar."
Yeah.
uh, and I looked her up, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute! This is the Feyre Archeron. This is the main character of this book series, of this wildly popular book series.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This
The
is a
Feyre
big deal."
Archeron. Yeah.
So I was like, "Heck yeah, I want to audition. This sounds so much fun." So I sent my audition in. It was mostly narration, actually. That was the audition. And I was one of the first people to get cast.
Oh, that's
Because
so interesting. Which
yeah,
makes
it was
sense because
really
they have to build off of you. Like they need to know what you're
right.
like. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just a really exciting and cool experience because it was a very unexpected casting call for me.
Hmm.
And the fact that the Sarah J. Maas team was involved was also really cool.
Yeah.
Like people, I was like, "Whoa, okay." And the fact that I did get picked, because I'm going up against so many other amazingly talented people, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
it's always, intense competition in voiceover. You're going up against so many other amazing people.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it was quite a moment. It was a big deal. And I was like, "Wow, this is so exciting." Like, ooh. I was very excited. And it was very fun telling my sister-in-law and her friends
Oh
that
my God.
I'm
Did they
going to be
freak
the voice of
out?
Feyre. Yeah, they were really happy. They were like, "Oh my gosh, that is so cool." Like we literally
Yeah.
just talked about it. And I was like,
Mhm.
I know." So, that it was amazing. It was great. I was the first person to get cast, and casting took a couple of weeks, I believe, a few weeks, and I'm still processing it, to be honest. I mean, I know it's been like years now, but I'm
Yeah.
still like, wow,
Hey, I think
I did that.
everyone would be, yeah, to have the Sarah J. Maas be like, you know what? You're the first person we're casting. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And I even like during it was so cool because like there was something very specific she wanted, like Colleen
Mhm.
was telling me about. She's like, I think she wants someone whose acting is like really raw. It's not super polished and refined. And she also liked my voice because I did sound younger. I
Yeah.
think she liked that because I think a lot of people forget that Feyre is actually only 19. Like she is
Right.
a baby. Like she's
Mhm.
a baby. I'm 29. I've got 10
Same.
years on her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same age.
so
Okay.
yeah, we're 29-year-olds. Woo, this is going to be the death of my 30s.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
my
Well,
20s rather.
when's your birthday?
October 21st.
Okay, I beat you by 2 months. Mine's in August, so I'll keep you updated on how it goes.
Yes, please do. I hear it's actually a blast. Like the,
Yeah.
30th birthday is really cool, but yes, that was the audition process. That was a long spiel.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, I will definitely let you know. But I have heard that 30s is great too because you kind of get more into your hobbies and different things and you listen less
Yeah.
to what random people say. So
Oh
we're
yeah,
excited.
that's what I heard. You care so much less what people have to say or think as you get older. And honestly, I'm already there at 29. I'm already like, I really don't care.
Yeah.
Unless it's important and it
Mhm.
matters. But if someone's all like, oh, like I hate your voice because you sound like a child, it's like, oh, well, all right.
Well, I loved your voice in it. I don't like also too, my voice is kind of higher just in like a general setting.
Yeah,
So growing up, I mean, people
you
did kind
relate.
yeah, yeah, people did kind of make fun of it or even like as I grew up, I was a nurse for a little bit and I would go into patients' rooms and they would be like, "How old are you?" And I would be like, "Oh, like 23." And they would be like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm positive." So, I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, I really liked it. It makes sense.
well, perfect. Yay! That makes me
Yeah.
happy.
So relatable, understood. So,
Very relatable. You get
yeah.
me.
Yeah, so was the audition process like other series you had auditioned for? Because it was so big, was it like hush hush or how did that go?
I don't think it was hush hush per
Okay.
se because we didn't sign an NDA or anything like that.
Okay.
I personally like this is kind of my personal standard practice is I try not to talk about things I'm auditioning for in
Okay.
general.
Makes
Like
sense.
even if I didn't sign an NDA or anything like that, I don't want to talk about a project unless I'm like cast. I signed a contract and I booked it
Right.
basically. And I'm given the okay. Like that's another thing. I usually like to get the okay, and that's exactly what I did. Before I announced that I was Feyre, I actually held off, I believe. Yeah, I held off on announcing my casting, and I only announced it when the book was actually available. So
Oh, a long
yeah,
time, yeah?
yeah, I had to
Okay.
wait for a while, but it was really cool and exciting. So yeah, it's not too different, just because my personal standard practice is just not to talk about these things until I actually book something and I'm
Mhm.
given the okay to do so. So
Right. Well, very impressive. That's a big secret to keep. So cool to know. So,
thank you.
yeah, have you received any like fan mail or fan DMs about the role of Pharaoh or anything like that?
Um, Well, funnily enough, when the books first came out, I didn't receive a lot. But
Okay.
now that it's been like a year or so, I have been receiving a lot more messages lately that have been so, so kind. Like,
Oh.
oh, and like honestly, and made me feel like so much better because when the book, like, because I feel like this was one of graphic audio's like biggest projects.
Oh,
Like, this is like
100%. Yeah.
huge. Like this is what put graphic audio on a lot of people's radar,
Mhm.
right?
On mine for
And
sure. Yeah.
and that comes with a lot of scrutiny for me, because and this is like true no matter what voiceover project this is about, right?
Yeah.
Like if when you're a voice talent and you're taking on the mantle of a role that's already been voiced and established and been a thing for years, it
Mhm.
is there's a lot of scrutiny to be had, right?
Yeah.
Because you've already have two audiobooks out there with two different narrators and they're both really great in their own way. right?
Hmm.
And that's what people are used to. So
Right.
I'm another narrator that people have to get used to.
Hmm.
And again, I am on the very young sounding side. Like I do sound like I'm in my early 20s, probably younger to some people.
Yeah.
And that's probably a huge adjustment because some people look at Feyre and they think of someone with a little bit more texture, a little bit, maybe more mature sounding. I never saw that because she's a 19-year-old in a YA book.
Same. I
So
was like, this is perfect. This makes 100% sense.
thank you. But there was a lot of scrutiny. So at first it was kind of rough. So
Hmm.
lately I've been getting a lot of messages that have been so kind and so supportive. And like some of these messages have been like super, super complimentary
Oh,
and they blow
good.
my mind. I'm just like, what do I do with this? I mean, thank you, but I'm also overwhelmed because I'm still
Yeah.
learning to take like, the really sweet compliments that are like, wow, you put a lot of thought into this. Thank you so much. But yes, I have gotten fan mail and DMs on social media and they've been so amazing. And I'm just so grateful to everyone who has, listened to these books and who's taken time to like look for us because we're voice actors. We're kind of
Yeah.
obscured, we're kind of enigmas, right? So you have to kind of look for us a little bit. Uh,
I
and
definitely
people
did.
do.
Yeah, I was like, let's roll out the Google. What are we going to
The
find out
Google.
today? Yeah. Well, no, that makes a lot of sense because you have to go from getting all of these like negative comments coming into like completely transitioning to like all of these people just like loving you. And I think too, like as you have a larger audience, people kind of are like, okay, wait, like we're not gonna be mean to that because it doesn't even make any sense. She's supposed to be 19, like she's not supposed to sound like she's 40. That would be strange. But I do think, like you were saying, people just get accustomed to a mature sounding voice and then they're like, wait,
Mhm.
what's going on? And it's like, guys, read the book.
Right. Or like, or
19.
like what they think in their brain the voice should sound
Yeah.
like, which I totally understand. Like it can be
Mhm.
very jarring. And like that's something that all of us voice actors kind of have to be ready for.
Mhm.
And like, we have to be ready for that because there's been other voices, there's been other voice actors who are associated with this role. So, and that was something I definitely had to work myself up to. Like I expected it, but reading some of those negative comments was rough still, nonetheless.
Well, I will be defending you in those comments because I did that for Anthony a little bit, who plays Reese for anyone who doesn't know. And some people were saying they expected him to be British. And I was like, guys, Sarah J. Maas is like picking these people. Like you have to trust
Mm-hmm.
that she knows what she's doing. Like because you pictured him sounding a different way does not mean that his character is being portrayed incorrectly.
Right. I mean, and in everyone else's slight defense about that, I also expected accents. I'm not going to lie. I expected,
Okay.
like, would you like to audition with the British RP accent? Because as a lot of voice actors, we know how to do different accents.
Hmm.
But, that's not what was asked for. They didn't want accents. They wanted just the straight American. And I was like, okay, well, there you
Yeah.
go. I mean, you're going to have to take that up with Sarah J.
Yeah,
Maas.
with Sarah J. Maas. Yeah, let's not comment on what they're doing. Let's send an email.
Yeah. Yeah. We just work here,
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
basically.
talk to the manager. So, do you have a cameo or anything like that, or would you consider getting one, or like to ask about
Do you
that?
mean in the series?
Oh, a cameo like where people can pay for you to say certain things, like happy birthday, or have you heard about Cameo before? It's like where like celebrities or people like that will kind of set up a thing if anyone like wants to request anything specifically.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I hope I'm not showing like my age here, but I've never even heard of this before.
Oh, okay. Well, no problem. I will send you this afterwards. I was just asking because Anthony
Yeah.
has one and he does some of the Resand lines. So I was like, I wonder if you have one and you do
Ooh.
some of the Fair lines. So
I mean, I would love to do that. That sounds
okay.
like just so much fun to do. I
Yeah.
didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, I will be sending
Oops.
this to you. I'm sure everyone will appreciate this. So yeah, I will send you the information.
Well, thank you so much. You're helping me out here
Yeah,
be
of
with it.
course.
So,
So what was the process for prepping for the character of Pharaoh? Was it like super different? I mean, obviously there was this little bit of pressure aspect to it because it was such a large role. So how do you prep for something like that?
oh, that's a really good question. So, because she was my biggest role, at first I was very excited.
Hmm.
And then I was like, Oh wait, this is a really big role.
Yeah.
I need to mentally and emotionally prepare myself.
Yes.
Um, Colleen, of course, did me a huge solid. Like she's all like, "Hey, girl, don't worry, I got you.
Oh,
Here's the
good.
Wikipedia of Feyre,"
Oh,
and
there
I
you
was
go.
like, "Oh, a Wikipedia." I was like, "Wow, this book is big. It's got a Wikipedia page, and it's
Yeah.
really detailed."
I was
So
gonna say it's detailed. There's pictures, there's AI fan
I
art. Like,
know.
yeah.
It's amazing. It's like, wow, this is great. This is fantastic for me as a, performer.
Yeah.
Um, but definitely read the book. I mean, honestly, my process was very similar to how I treat other audiobooks because I feel like when even with a big project like this, I still need to like, and like, okay, this is just another audiobook project. I need
Right.
to treat it like how I've been treating my other audiobook projects, which I have my own process. Basically, the Wikipedia really came in handy, gave me a great idea and gist of Feyre. Then I read each script that I was given pretty thoroughly. I looked at her artwork because for me, I am a visual person. I do love to see pictures of characters. It really helps me kind of understand them better. Um, for example, some of my favorite fan art of Feyre is, I like when she looks young
Hmm.
because again, she's 19. I get she's supposed to look a little older than Elaine, like Elaine's supposed to look like the youngest. And I do know that's because Feyre is like the caretaker, like she's the one
I was
who's
gonna
providing.
say, yeah,
Yeah.
Feyre is out hunting, Elaine is with the plants.
I mean, we probably will talk about that later because I still have a beef with the fact, like, why is the baby
I
providing for the,
Yes, yes, we are on the same page there. I will add it to the questions because I also do not understand.
Yeah, that always like I even asked Colleen that. I was like, why is this child? Why is the child of the family providing for all these other people? And she's like, I don't know. I don't again, I just work here.
Yeah, well,
um
exactly. Yeah, I made a video about that because I'm an oldest sister and Nesta is the oldest sister. And I was just like, I can't comprehend like not
I know.
taking care of my brother or like, putting in a situation where I was just like, fend for yourselves. Like I would never be able to do that. So I had a hard time relating to her initially because I was just like, you lost
Yeah.
me here.
I mean, I still like Nesta. Like from a
Yeah.
performer's perspective, I could tell she was so much fun to portray.
Yeah.
Natalie Van Sistine did amazing with her. Like she's just a phenomenal actress. But anyways, I'm getting so sidetracked.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, you're good. It's always good
Not
to
me
learn what's up.
fangirling over my cast, my castmates. But yeah, my prepping process for Feyre was very similar to how I do other characters. In fact, I would argue in terms of like the performance, it was easier because when I'm doing audiobooks all by myself, I have to consider all the characters and how I'm going to do their personalities, right?
Yeah.
And at least in graphic audio, I don't have to do that. Like everyone else has their own voice. So I just have to worry about Feyre. So I was really able to focus on her. Like she's 19 years old. She's the provider of the family. She's struggling because she's 19. Her brain's not developed. Her
Hmm.
personality is not even fully developed. Like she's still figuring out who she is, what she wants out of life. I mean, and like these are all like, and again, I had to kind of go back to when I was 19 and sort of think about it. Like, how was I? When I was 19, I'm a very opinionated person.
Hmm. Same.
And but I'm much more tactful with it now.
Hmm.
But young me, 19-year-old me, was a lot more ferocious with
Okay.
it and very forward. And I wanted to bring a little bit of that with Feyre. And that's why some of my favorite, scenes with Feyre is when she got mad. Oh,
Hmm.
I loved those scenes. I loved when she got angry. As a performer, it's so much fun to get mad and angry and just be a jerk. Because I don't, you
Yeah.
don't do that in real life, right? Like
Hmm.
you're never out here trying to be a jerk. And in real life, I would never hurt a fly, right?
Right.
Like, I'm a big softie. I match, I am exactly how I look. I look like a very soft person, and I am. So,
Yeah.
um,
Same vibes.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, my prep for Feyre, long story short, is very similar to how I prep for all my other audiobooks, except I was really able to focus only on Feyre. So I got
Yeah.
to, like, and that was really nice and refreshing.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's like so cool to learn because when you're a voice actor, you have to kind of put more effort into if you were a physical actor because you're going to have to bring this like vision to people's minds, So like
I
we're
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm so glad you agree with me. I feel like that. Like that's my controversial hot take is that voice acting is just as challenging as on-screen acting,
Oh, if not
if not
more.
more so.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, same
Exactly,
page.
because you're trying to convince people of your feelings and what's going on in that moment
Yeah.
without being too much, and you are limited to just your voice.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, in the booth, I can wave my hands and, blah, 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 but no one's going to see all that.
Yeah.
They're literally only going to get to hear you. So it is definitely, it's definitely something. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, no, 100%. I definitely admire all of your work because I was just like, wow,
Oh,
this is like difficult and you have to be thoughtful and each sentence needs to be, really thought out. It can't just be like you just run through, a paragraph or two. Like every sentence has to hit. So, um, very
and that's
impressive.
like, and that I will say that's the good thing about having like theater background or on screen, because everything you learn for those can really come in handy for voiceover, because you know body language can really help you get in the mood. Like when I'm angry, I'm over here like, rah, and
Yeah.
like I'm doing all that, and but like I have to like, okay, but try and channel all this into this, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, into my vocals. So it's a balancing act as well. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So what was your favorite part of playing Farah in every aspect? What's the best part?
So I like the fact that Feyre is a very complicated and flawed person.
Hmm.
I like the fact that she's not a perfect protagonist. I like the fact that she messes up. She makes decisions that make me go, Brr.
Yeah.
I like the fact that, I feel like she's written pretty organically. I think there's a lot of people who underestimate how smart you're supposed to be at 19.
Hmm.
Like I think people expect someone who makes really good choices all the time. And it's like, no, you're 19. Of course you're not going to make good choices all the time. Of course you're going to be
Yeah.
impulsive and brash and naive. And I liked all of these things about Feyre. I liked that she wasn't perfect. I liked that she messed up a lot. I liked when she was like unreasonable,
Yeah.
almost like irrational. I like that. Like, I mean, not just as a performer, but even as a reader, I like
Mhm.
those types of characters because they're real. That's
Yeah.
how real people act. If she was perfect all the time and she did everything right,
It would be boring.
I'd be bored.
Yeah.
I'd be bored. And I will say, from a story perspective, that's not interesting, because it's way more interesting to watch a character kind of go from, it's like dough for like bread, right? Like, you have a blob of blah, right?
Yeah.
But then you put it in the oven and you give it some time to bake, and then you get a delicious, crunchy piece of bread that just melts in your mouth. And it's the
Hmm.
best thing ever. And, I liked that about Feyre. She started off really flawed, and she's always going to be flawed, right? Because she's a human. That's part of being human,
Hmm.
which is really important in a book like this, because we're talking about Fae and humans,
Yes.
and part of and all those flaws. That's what made so many Fae like I like this girl. She's interesting because they're used to perfection.
Yeah,
They're
that's
used
such a
to
good point. Yes,
yeah,
100%.
and that was something that I kind of like really liked. I will say about the writing is I did like the fact that it's like, this is human and this is what it means to be human, is that you mess up, but humans are very good about being resilient. This is
Mhm.
another thing that I think really makes people stand out, is our passion, our emotions, our resilience. Like when things are hard, we might be down for a bit, but we always get back up. And
Yeah, I
and I
agree.
loved that about Feyre. Like that's one of her best traits, is that she went through it. My girl went through it. Okay, she went
Yes.
through some really rough stuff,
Hmm.
but she still got out of it, and she was still a good person.
Yeah.
Like even when she was in her like, I'm a badass phase,
Yeah.
she was she was still a good person. Like she
Hmm.
still cared about people. And like she got stronger. She set boundaries and things like that, which was really good. That was great for her to learn. And that's what and it's also again realistic, because as you age, you start to care a lot more about your boundaries.
Yes, 100%.
And I can say that too myself as a person. Like, when I was younger, people kind of stepped a lot all over me,
Same.
because
Yeah.
I was a people pleaser. I still have a teensy weensy bit of it.
Yeah,
you
same.
know? But I've really kind of outgrown a lot of that now, and now I do have boundaries and I really instill it. And I like that about Feyre too, is that she's very resilient, she's very strong, determined, and even though she messes up, she does try to fix things. So, but again, she's not perfect, and I think that's the best thing about her character, like as a reader and a performer, because it's fun performing flawed characters. It really
Yeah.
is.
Well, that's amazing. Well, Feyre's my favorite character, like I said. So as you continue to talk to her, I'm about like, I agree. Yes, yes. And something that I really loved about her as well is her resiliency. Like from start to finish, she was just always like, it's okay, we'll work through it. We'll figure out what we need to do. And she was always protecting people, I think too. Like she was really good at that in her family. So
Yeah, exactly. Like, and truth is, there was a little bitterness there too. And
yeah.
honestly, as there should be. Like,
Oh,
most people in
100%.
her
Yeah.
shoes would be bitter a little bit. And it's like, again, this is all very organic feeling. This is how I think people just are. And I
Mhm.
like that kind of writing personally when it comes to characters. And, and that was another amazing quality about her. Like, some people called her really stupid for this. I say really brave. Like,
Yeah,
this is the type of woman, this is the type of young lady who is going to do everything she can for you. Like, she
100%.
will do anything and everything for you if she loves you.
Yeah, like a
And that
ride or
is
die.
always admirable.
Mhm.
Yep. And that's attractive. I mean, I'm not going to say it's the smartest way to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
um but it is good. It's really fun to read and entertain and perform as. So,
Well, that's an amazing answer. So thank you. Thank you for that. I
you're
always love when
welcome.
people talk about Farah because I'm like, this is so great. Like, yeah, like we could talk about this forever, like she's such an intricate character. And I think
She
that's
is.
great because yeah, when you're multifaceted, it's more interesting and you can also like deep dive into what that means and like why she's a people pleaser and like how the boundary creation can really relate to a lot of people because even as women too, like we're expected to be
Yes.
people pleasers and kind of just let people run over us. And then as we get older, we're like, you know what? We're no longer doing that.
Right.
It's not appropriate. We need to set boundaries. We need, and then the people that aren't meant to be in your life, they leave and good riddance. Like, see you later.
Exactly. Like that, I'm so glad you brought that up because, I feel the same way. I know women are socialized and conditioned to be a certain type of way.
Yeah.
And so it really is so nice seeing more and more women like, I'm still sweet, I'm still kind and nurturing, but I have boundaries. I have standards. You will not get to just step and walk all over me. And I love to see this for women. And I think this is part of it. I think there's a lot of really well written female characters in a lot of these young adult books in particular, and even teen books. And I love to see this because, I mean, I will say, like, in terms of Feyre, I do think her character is a little copy and paste. Like, again, I do a lot of young adult books.
Mhm.
So a lot of these female characters are very similar to each other. I'm not complaining about it. I like
Yeah.
it. But I would love a young adult book where my main character is bubbly as hell. She's super
Okay.
hyper feminine, bubbly, but she's strong and
Yeah.
badass. I
Mhm.
want to see more of that because I relate to that.
I
Oh,
was
and plus
gonna say,
size.
yeah, you and I, this would be very much on par for our personalities.
Yeah, and it'd be awesome. So we can show people that, hey, you can be hyper feminine, super bubbly and soft, and also kick ass. You can be
Yes.
all these things together. Like, I would love to see a little bit more of that because I am very feminine and bubbly and, but there's a side to me that's like, if you try me,
You're gonna find out. Yeah.
yeah, F around,
Yes.
find out. I mean, you have to do a lot to get me to that point, to be fair. Like,
Mhm.
you have to do a lot, At that point, if you push me to that point, you deserve it.
Exactly. 100%.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do like Feyre as the character because of that. And I also like the fact that I will say I wish she had more dialogue. I will
Okay.
say I wish I had more dialogue with her. Um, and that's so nitpicky. Like, that's not even like
Hey,
that big of a deal.
I would love to hear Farrah talk more. Even in the novella, a lot of people didn't like the novella. I'm like, no more, please. I want to see what people are
I thought
doing.
I thought the novella was pretty cute, to be honest. I mean, I
Yeah,
liked
I
it. I
was
thought it
like,
was a
why?
nice break.
I know. I was like, why are we always fighting? Like, let's do the snowball fight. Let's sit by the fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was cute and wholesome. I liked that. I was like, oh, thank you. My girl Feyre needs a break.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, let's just take a minute. So yeah, same page for that. So, kind of transitioning, did you meet any of the other voice actors from the series, or were you just kind of by yourself recording?
So when it came to recording itself, yes, we were all by ourselves. I did the narration on my own,
Okay.
but I was directed by Colleen, the director. But I did not get to perform with the other actors, unfortunately. That is not very common in voiceover nowadays. I'm not
Okay.
saying it doesn't happen. It's
Yeah,
just not
good
as
to know.
common. Um, but yeah, I mean, we did talk though. Like a few of the, let's see, Gabriel. Have you reached out to Gabriel Michael?
Oh my goodness,
He
not yet, but we'll be approaching
Oh,
quickly.
you'll love him. Oh, you will love Gabriel. He is so funny and charismatic. Oh, you will love him so much. He's
Oh,
amazing.
great. You all
And
are so nice. Like, I am very impressed by Sarah J. Maas's casting because every time I talk to anyone from this cast, so completely like authentic, genuine, kind, thoughtful. So I'm very
oh,
impressed. So, yeah.
thank you. Like calls to like, you know?
Hey, there
So,
you go.
you
Yes.
you reached out to me and you're super sweet and darling and friendly as well. So, yeah. Um but I've become friends with Anthony and Henry and Gabriel, and a few others from the cast too, like Natalie. I
Okay.
mean, at they Gabriel was actually the one who reached out to me.
Oh,
I was
cool.
shocked. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, and we really hit it off. Like, because Gabriel is so sweet. I mean,
Hmm.
he schmoozed me. What he complimented me a lot,
Oh, good. Hey, we'll
but
take it. Yeah.
oh, I definitely took it. I was like, ooh, I'm a Libra, so we love this. Thank you. But no, he's amazing. And he's like such an amazing friend in the voiceover community too, because he's the type of person to like really fight for you
Okay.
and like keep an eye, like he'll send me gigs, like not gigs, but like opportunities,
Oh,
right? I mean,
awesome.
and like I think we all in the voiceover community try to do that for each other if we're friends. Like I know I've tried to do that with Anthony, and Anthony did that with you and me. So yeah, we definitely connected with each other on social media, and I'm hoping to meet them in person one day. But for now, online is great because I still get to hear their voice and see their success stories, and I'm just so grateful that they're my friends. I think they're such amazing people.
Yeah, well,
So
Anthony and I were talking in the podcast that I did with him about that Starfall ball. I think they do. I don't know if you've seen that online, but they do this like
I
high
have.
okay. They do this high fae ball, and I was like, would you go to that? Like if like the whole group would go, like, would you guys go? And he was like, I would. And so I was like, what do we need to do to make this happen? So would you go to
Um,
something like that?
I would
Okay.
definitely do it, especially if everyone else was going, because like I have to go if
Yeah.
everyone else is going.
Mhm.
And I think that would be so much fun. I've heard of these things. Even been invited to these things. I applied to one of these things. I'm
Okay.
sorry. You can tell that I don't go to conventions or
Oh
events
no,
very
you're good.
often.
Yeah.
um, but I was invited and I applied, but I don't think I got accepted the first time around to one of these
Okay.
events. So, but yes, if we plan and everyone decides that we're going to go and make this happen, I'd totally be down with it.
I will
100%. I
I
think
will
it'd be so
work
much
on
fun.
this. Yeah, I will spend the next year working.
Uh-oh, and you have hyperfixation, so it's going to
I
happen.
do.
Okay.
Okay, guys, I was telling Melody before this because she was asking about the smut page about like how long have I been doing it, and I was like, I kind of hyperfixate on things, so this has been going on for 2 months. So,
And
anyways,
it's already this amazing and successful. So that's mind-blowing. Congratulations to you, by the way.
oh,
Your hard
thank
work really
you.
shows.
Yeah, everyone has been so nice. Like, I didn't know if it was like how it was going to be because it's still kind of smutty, right? Which is kind of like I don't know, a little bit different, right? So I was like, is everyone going to be
Mhm.
super nice? Is it going to be super unhinged? But across the board, I'm just like, I love everyone in this like community. Everyone is so thoughtful and kind. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's been really nice. All right. So moving on, what were your recording days like for this series? Because you have so much to do.
So the recording sessions, interestingly enough, did not go as long as people might think. Yes,
Oh,
they were about like 2 hours, 2 hours for each session, because
okay.
mind you, I'm only doing the dialogue with Colleen.
Right.
Um, and I'm sorry, I have something in my eye.
Oh, no,
Okay,
you're
we're good.
good.
Um, but yeah, it was about like 2 hours every day with Colleen. And honestly, As a voice actor, I'm sorry, I say this a lot. I apologize. Take a shot every time I say as a voice actor,
Hey,
as a performer,
it's good to know. Yeah.
you'll be drunk by the time we're done. But yeah, as a voice actor, one of the skills that you have to kind of learn and acquire is how to self-direct. And I'm so used to self-directing, so when I get in there with Colleen, um, I'm trying to make her job as easy as possible, right? So usually we're able to get the line we need in like a couple takes, if not the
Okay.
first take.
Good.
And that's because of my own prep. And like that's when prep is really handy. Like I research the character, I study the script, I study the lines, and so it makes it a lot easier on everybody when you do that,
Yeah.
especially the director. Because if you can make the director's life easy and like get things in one or two takes, they'll be so ecstatic. They'll be so happy. So
Yeah,
that's something I
imagine.
definitely strive for. Yeah, I strive for that because it's like I want to make your life as easy as possible. So I like to like really push that on my brand and my website is that
Mhm.
I'm easy to direct. And I think that comes with being really creative and
Yeah.
imaginative and a daydreamer, like that because it really puts you in that moment. Like it's a lot easier to like really get into the scene. So
100%. Yeah.
yeah. So for those sessions, it was only about 2 hours with her every like few days.
Okay.
And we knocked out the dialogue. But when it came to the book itself, the narration, I devoted let's see, a few hours every day to one disc.
Okay.
We do this by discs, and a disc is basically like 50 minutes, like
Okay.
1 hour of the book or so, because you know how the books are split in parts.
Right.
So I would devote one day, one night to a disc and complete it and turn it in, and then I would do that the next night and the next night because I want to be careful with my voice because
Yeah.
I talk a lot. I'm an extroverted person in general, but you also want to limit your time when you're recording because it's a lot more intense. There's a lot more energy and focus being put into the performance. And it has been told to me to limit your recording time every day to,
Okay.
maintain the longevity of your voice and your vocal cords,
Yeah, that makes
especially when
sense.
you're doing a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah. So me personally, I try to limit myself to about 3 to 4 hours every day. But that's okay because I make up the rest of those hours for working by trying to market myself and, working on my website, just different things to promote my career more and more. So
Yeah, I mean, it definitely shows that you're a super hard worker because even when I was looking at your social media, I'm like, wow, she's really doing a lot. Like, all of the different things that you're working on. I was just like, this is impressive, but you could really see that were a hard worker. So
thank
I
you.
admire that. Yeah.
Thank you so
So,
much.
of course. So moving on, when did you realize how big the fandom was? Or even now, like still continuing to grow at like a crazy rate?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I knew it was big when I
Mhm.
got booked and whatnot. And then, I am on TikTok, of course. RIP. I'm just kidding.
I know. Yeah, to be determined.
To be determined. Not gonna spook anyone. We don't know for sure yet, but
Mhm.
I did know it was a very large fandom.
Okay.
But I didn't realize at when I first started quite how large. I was like, oh, this is massive.
Yeah.
These are a lot of fans.
Mhm.
And, so yeah, I'm still kind of processing how huge it is, to be honest. I'm still pretty like whew. I mean, I got an idea by looking up the original audiobook that Jennifer narrated, and
Mhm.
I was like 20,000 reviews?
Yeah, it's a dedicated fan base. It's not even just like it's big. Like the people that are reading are dedicated, like ride or die.
Mhm.
Like they love Farah or they love Nesta. Like everyone, like like people have
Oh
strong
yeah.
opinions either way.
Yes. Absolutely.
So have you seen anyone out in the wild like reading ACOTAR? Do you ever like see that and you're like, oh, I'm in that?
Yes, I have seen that a couple times. I even have friends. I've recently made like a wonderful group of friends, and I've even had one. He actually let me know that his girlfriends were like, okay, so I feel like an idiot because I just realized my girlfriends, you know, it was funny because he brought it up to them. He was like, yeah, she's the voice of some like, popular book series of Fairy Fara, something like that. And like they were like, because they've heard me talk like over Discord and voice chat and everything, right?
Mhm.
And they were like, "Are you trying to say Feyre?" And he was like, "Yeah, Feyre." And they were like, "She's the voice of Feyre in graphic audio?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh, I feel like a complete idiot because apparently you're like a huge deal."
Yeah,
And
you're
I'm like,
I am a
"Oh,
huge
I
deal.
am?"
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, but I was honestly like, I am a big deal. Oh, okay. I mean,
Oh,
they
100%.
apparently had listened to the graphic audio, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, wow, small world. And yeah, so I have definitely heard stories and I've seen things, and it's funny because it's like I don't go up to people and say, hey, I voiced that character. I don't do
Mhm.
that, but it is kind of like in my head, like, hee hee, I did that, hee
Oh,
hee.
I
But
love that. Anthony was saying that he like was in Barnes& Noble the other week, just like standing by the books, like
uh-huh.
cozied up by the books, and I was like, "What a cool move!" You're just like, "Hey, are you reading that?" So
That sounds
super
like an
funny.
Anthony thing to do.
Yeah. So getting away from ACOTAR, do you have any upcoming projects or voice acting things that we could support you in, or what's going on in your life outside of ACOTAR right now?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm always working on new and interesting voiceover projects. I'm always working on audiobooks. I've got a couple that's like in the works.
Okay.
For example, I got cast in a young adult book series recently. I believe it's a Shifter young adult series. Shifters are
Ooh.
really fun. And it sounds really cool. I'm really excited to get that started. So yeah, I will definitely keep everyone updated on my social medias
Yeah.
about that. And I am also working on graphic audio's Tracy Wolf's but graphic audio's adaptation of the Crave series.
Okay.
I voice Grace Foster. She's the main character and the narrator of these book series. And these books are definitely kind of giving Twilight, but
Ooh.
I like them more.
Okay.
I like these more. Obviously, well, like because you're getting paid.
Hey,
It's
good
like
to know. Yeah.
no, I like Grace. Grace is a really fun character to me. Like she's very sassy, very quick-witted, and like unlike Feyre, she talks a lot. She talks
Okay.
plenty, and I love it.
Nice.
I love it so
Yeah.
much. And but like Feyre, she's also gone through like some hardships. You know what I mean? So there's still that amazing like nuance I get to bring to her performance in some scenes where it's like we're going back on like, oh, I went through this like really rough thing, and I try to portray that in the performance and the narration. But yeah, I love this book series so far. It's really amazing. But like I said, I am working on numerous projects,
Okay.
and the best way to keep up with all of that is to just keep up with my socials because I post every like project I'm working on, and I do try to do lives of my audiobook narration sometimes.
Oh, very fun.
Yeah, because I guess people do like behind the scenes a little bit. They do like to watch the process. I did not really know that. I thought that would be kind of boring, but nope, I was wrong. Um,
Yeah,
and
I
of
think it'd be
course,
very interesting.
and of course, on my website, I update the blog very frequently for just to keep everybody updated on what's released, on what I'm working on, and et cetera, et cetera. So.
Okay, perfect. So I will be linking that for everyone. So don't worry. You can just check the description of this video. We'll have all of Melody's links and where you can download the different books. So just stay tuned, and we'll also be putting that
Fabulous.
on social media. So no worries. We've got you covered.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, so transitioning a little bit, Melody Muse, is that your real name or is that a stage name?
My real name is definitely Melody.
Okay.
The Muse is a play off of my last name, which is Muse Lokovich. I
Okay.
don't mind letting everyone know because good luck spelling it. Um, and it is on my website though because I am all about authenticity. I'm all
Mhm.
about being very transparent about who I am, what I like, what I do. I just like to be I'm a very forward person. Like I get why people want their privacy though. But me
Mhm.
personally, I love to get to know people, and I want people to see me for 100% who I am. So yeah, it's a stage name because I thought honestly, it's a stage name more so for convenience than
Okay.
anything. I mean, because
Cool.
again, my last name is pretty long. It's hard to say for some people. It's annoying to spell. So it's like, you know what? Let's condense this to Muse because
Mhm.
I have always loved Greek mythology. I
Okay.
particularly love the muses of Greek mythology.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And I really resonate with them because they're all about art and poetry and music and even
Yeah.
science. And I'm into all of those things. I'm very artsy fartsy and and even though I'm a very spiritual person, um, I love my tarot cards and my pendulums and
Mhm.
all that stuff. I'm very spiritual, I am. But I love science. I have such respect for science because again, it's done so much wonders for the world. It's
Mhm.
a great way to understand things. So, yeah, sorry.
No,
That's
you're good.
why I did that's why I did Melody Muse because I was like, I resonate with Muse a lot. I love the Muses, and I'm not saying I am a Muse, but I resonate with them. So,
Well, we would definitely say you're a muse, but also when I first heard it, I was like, this sounds like a superhero name, because they'll do like, yeah, they'll do like Peter Parker, things like that. So I was just like, I love this already. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
amazing. Oh, I've never thought of it that way. That's so cute. I love that. I have had one fellow voice peer tell me, I love your stage name because it gives me like a classic singer
Hmm.
name. And I was
Okay, yeah,
like,
or even that.
I'm not mad at that because I'm a singer too. So I like that.
Yeah, it's nice to get everyone's interpretations of it because you're like, yes, I will add this to
Yeah.
my list of what this means. So very cool. As we end this interview, I had people ask if you would maybe do one of your lines for us. So what do you think?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I see it here. Oh, this one. Yeah, I've heard this one a lot on TikTok. I never knew Illyrians were such sensitive babies.
10 out of 10. We love it.
A
Thank
really
you.
good line from her.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me. And we'll put all of your links up for everyone. And yeah, I just really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Thank you so much for bringing me on board with this. This was so much fun. I'm happy to come back anytime. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, thank you. This was so much fun to me. You're amazing. You're lovely. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. So, I'm happy to come back anytime.
Oh, yes. Well, okay, everyone. I will do my best to get her back on ASAP. But thank you again. And we will see you all in the next podcast episode.